You are listening to the audio portion of the QB PowerHour webinar series. The QB PowerHour is a free biweekly webinar series for accounting professionals presented by Michelle Long and Dan DeLong, who are very passionate about the industry, QuickBooks, and apps that integrate with QuickBooks. You can find out all the details about the webinar series at qbpowerhour.com. So without further ado, here's Michelle and Dan. Well, welcome everybody to another QB Power Hour. I still need to update that video. Sorry, man.
What are you talking about? I'm Michelle today. It's okay.
I do have you on the slide.
Yes.
You are officially on the slide. Well, welcome everyone to another QB Power Hour. We'll be talking about a client conversation coach with our guest, Cashflow Mike. I always mispronounce your last name, and I can't get it into my head how to say it, because I know I want to say Milan, like the city, and I know that's not the right way to say it. So please correct me.
I will, and I'll teach you a way to, my phone, there it is. Anyway, I'll teach you how to, and most people already know this already, but there's a song that actually helps you pronounce my name. And it's kind of like this. It's
cash money, 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 cash money, money, cash. No?
No, that was close. So that was really close. It was this land is your land. This land
my land.
My land.
There you go. See, it's easy. But I'm tell you what, the cool thing about a name like that is I always know if you don't know me, right? So it's easy to hang up on telemarketers.
Yeah. Yes. When they say Dan DeLong, no. Click.
Yeah, there you go. All
right, so let's get into our topic today. My name is Dan DeLong, owner of the Danwith and School of Bookkeeping. Worked at Intuit nearly 18 years, doing the co-hosting duties here today, as well as the workshop Wednesday. Turn it over to Matt.
Hello, everybody. Matthew Fulton here, goes by Spot. I am founder of Parkway Business Solutions and the Facebook group QB Community Live, and big workflow nerd. One cool little thing I just did, had a client that had all these unbillable time things, 34,000 items, and I was able to go in and remove all of them for him. So I love doing weird stuff like that.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
And Mike,
Milan.
Hey, live from San Antonio, it's Cashflow Mike, right? That's hey, I'm happy to do this. We've done this several times over the last decade or so. So I'm happy to be back. I am a consultant, author, trainer, built a program called The Clear Path to Cash, wrote 3 books. We're going to go over the newest book today and some of the concepts I learned as both a state trooper and from watching Hoarders. So, so we're going to do that. You're going to see how those two mesh.
All right. I'm intrigued. So a little bit about the QB Power Hour. It's every other Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern, which now I am finally on the Eastern time zone, so I can finally be on the same time as the advertised time. It is eligible for CPE credit, but not on the live webinar. We are partnered and working with Earmark, and they create the CPE courses for us, and they're typically about a week after the live event. So next week, when we don't have a QB Power Hour, you can review that by going into the channel on Earmark, and they should be there. We do have the last 3 that we've done. They should actually be posting one this week for the one that we did last time for the Power Hour there, but you can always access the Power Hour channel, and just as they're posted in there, you can just get your CPE credit that way. A few things about the housekeeping. If you have specific questions about Mike, what Mike is going to be covering here with us today, please put them in the Q&A, because it makes it a lot easier to follow up and make sure it's addressed. General comments, things that you want to just chat about, please put them in the chat. And then, of course, we have the links for the handouts, which I forgot to put in the the landing page there so that you can access those, but I'll do those in just a moment. We also have a store with some swag if you want to check it out for all your QB Power Hour swag needs. But what's on the agenda today is we'll be talking about client conversations, and we'll be kind of unpacking them with Mike about looking back at how conversations with your clients used to happen and how they can happen now. And he has a new strategy that he wants to tell us about called TELL, which is an acronym, terminate every long lecture. And we'll unpack that as well as the elevation sequence and way that he has structured a way to have client conversations. That's kind of one of the things that I think we've been kind of unraveling or unpacking from this, transition from the word I was looking for is not coming to me. It's from compliance work, bookkeeping, categorization, that sort of thing into advisory. And I think a lot of people just have, sometimes they struggle with having that conversation in how to have that conversation. Mike, would you say that's a fair statement, an assumption from what you've been seeing in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, I never start out to write a third book. Nobody really ever expects to learn how to talk to somebody from a state trooper, right? It wasn't one of those things that kind of came across my radar. But what I was noticing while I was teaching the math, probably everybody on the call goes, "Oh, that's the math guy. He's the guy that does this, that, and the other with numbers." What I noticed is that there was a breakdown between getting to the right answer, finding the problem, getting to the right answer, and then getting someone to take action, right? So this is about not getting compliance. It's not compliance the way you just said it, Dan, but I don't want clients to be compliant because I ask them to do something or tell them to do something. I want them to be committed, right? So this is about a conversation technique that gets people to be committed to take action versus just being compliant because they're required to.
Matthew, any thoughts about that kind of having that conversation with clients?
It feels like no matter how long I've been doing this is always one of the biggest challenges is trying to master this. And it's why I always love to listen to Mike and gain some extra knowledge and the reminders of things that he's helped teach me before, but maybe didn't stick well enough the first time so I can keep evolving. So I'm here to be a student just as much as everybody else.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and start our first poll question, and that is: do you struggle with client advisory conversations? Yes, no, or maybe it's just not in your scope of work of the things that you do today, but maybe you want to learn having those conversations. And while that is going on, I'm looking for.
Dan, I guess the one thing I'd add on is I think the term we've all already said, like the term client advisory can be very ominous at times and it's not easy to understand it. Mm-hmm. At the beginning, I always thought that was just supposed to be part of our services when you were talking about the value add things, helping them understand their workers' comp or their merchant processing and understanding where their money's going to. But truly the cash flow side of it, the forecasting, that's a whole different level that there's definitely a right way to go about it.
Yeah, there's definitely, because you'll get the most. I mean, it's kind of like parenting, right? I mean, yeah, saying the right thing to get the child or the client to take action is part of is the toughest part of the whole thing. Is getting on their level. So let me go ahead and I'll stop sharing. Mike, you have your slides ready to go.
I am ready.
All right, and we'll dive right into it.
All right, cool. There we go. Are we good? We see it?
Yep. Yes, sir.
All right. So here we go, right? Live from San Antonio. And I got to tell you, this is brand new stuff. So if I stumble, if I fumble, if I flip over, whatever that's going to be, who knows? Who knows how this is going to hang out, right? So again, like I told folks, I didn't intend to write a book on conversation. I just didn't, right? My first book was Don't Be a Dumb Business Owner. And that was about don't understand my business, right? Acronyms. That's kind of how I learned things myself. And this is all about the clear path to cash, 8 techniques to maximizing cash in a business. So this reads more like a math textbook. Then with that, I added in the 7-minute conversation. You can get a copy of this for free, but this is how to analyze financial statements in 7 minutes or less. Well, when I was teaching folks how to do the math in the clear path to cash, we would role play because people would want to know, well, how can I find an issue, or how do I actually work with the solution, right? Once I find an issue, how do I solve it? And we would role play it because that was part of the education, is how do I have this conversation? So once we got to the point where we were doing more and more role plays as a cohort, as a group together, more and more people were saying, Mike, how do you do that? And I'm like going, and I would show them the math, and they go, no, what you just did, what you just said. And I'm like going, oh, you mean talk to people? I said, I don't know. I don't know how I talk to people. And I really put some thought into it because I'm like going, that was where people struggled next. Most CPAs, most bookkeepers, most accountants, they could figure out how to do the math, right? I mean, there's not a lot of secrets in math to this group, but it was how to impart it to the non-sophisticated financial business owner. Which is, how do I get you to not only understand what we're saying, but want to take action, right? Want to be committed to putting more cash in your pocket. So I said, okay, let me dissect all the conversations I've had over the last 25 years. And I really went back to my first lesson in talking to people. And that was at the Highway Patrol Academy in Jefferson City, Missouri. Right? And the lesson they gave us was called verbal judo. So when I say that, I always think Karate Kid, like wax on, wax off. Right? That's the way I always think about it, is like Karate Kid. But verbal judo was more about learning to talk to everyone at their worst moment and getting them to understand what was to happen next, right? Without the fight. I would much rather, believe it or not, after 7 years as a state trooper, I would rather talk to you for 30 minutes on the side of the road than fight you for 3. Believe it or not, that's the better choice, is the talking always works out. So that's where this started, was just learning how to talk to people in their worst moments. And a lot of times that's how business owners feel. They feel judged. They feel accused. They feel bad, ashamed because of the way they've run their business. So because of that, it kind of evolved into running my own business. And I remember one of the things that I told my father-in-law right in the very beginning. He says, hey, what's some of the things that annoy you? And I said, I don't like to be told what to do. And maybe you're the same way. Matt, maybe you're the same way. Dan, you're the same way. So that became the basis for this book, is don't tell me what to do. But trying to connect it to the math, I used it as an acronym. And tell doesn't mean tell. It means terminate every long lecture. Because when I started hiring consultants, they would come into my place of business and they would just ask me questions, and then they would just present, and I would be presented with walls and numbers and inch or two thick binders and that type of stuff. I'm like, oh man, I just got bored really fast. There was no engagement. They weren't including me in the conversation or the work. And because of that, the tell became terminate every long lecture. Your job isn't to come into my place of business and give me a lecture about how to run my business. It's to work side by side with me to find the solution and actually implement it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Go ahead, Matt.
It totally does. Matter of fact, I want to call myself out in the comments. If you've been guilty of this in the past, put a 1 in the comments real quick, just to kind of say you have. I know for sure I have, where you go into solution mode or answer mode, right? And you're forgetting to actually engage instead of just try to talk. So that just hit home for me, at least.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's there's something that, we want to prove our worth, right? And the way that we do that is by throwing up whatever it is. It's a verbal diarrhea of here's why you need to do this sort of thing. But it's not, we have 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason, and we should listen twice as much as we talk, but we end up talking more first, as opposed to, listening and getting on their level.
Exactly right. So once I realized that was the next roadblock or obstacle in advisory services. I'm like, okay, well, I've got to help people understand the way this conversation should flow, at least in my mind, because I feel like they were getting stuck by the solution and wanting to get right to it when the client wasn't ready, right? So I built this course called the Client Conversation Coach that's inside my community. So the first thing I had to do was say, hey, if I wanted to see different things, I have to change the way I look at it. So if you look at the way I look at financial statements compared to what they teach you in class, that's one of the reasons why my techniques stand out, is that I take a different approach to each one of the financial statements. So I took that same approach and put it into this course, which is change the way you look at things, and the things that you see will also change, right? So that's kind of the premise for everything. Here's the way I process is happening, right? When I look at people teaching advisory services, they go do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. And it was just, you do these things kind of in this order, and then eventually you get to the next step, or everyone gets to the end. This is where it always fell apart for me. Every time I tried to do a step-by-step process, it would fall apart, because the step would be, let's do forecasting. But my client would walk in and say, I don't know if I'm going to make payroll next week. Right. So I can't talk about forecasting on next year if we have an immediate problem of solving payroll this week. So what I noticed is that every client I talked to was in a different state, a different position, a different problem, all at the same time. So I had to come up with some methodology to be able to meet them where they're at. So here's what I was thinking, is that I need to stop starting with the problems that I saw and started to fix the problems that they felt, right? So that was the biggest change I made in the way I was talking to people, is that I would walk in, see financial statements, and you know me, Matt. I mean, I'll go through financial statements and find problems, this, and we can start on our way to fixing the problems. But the thing was, is if they didn't feel it, they weren't interested in what I saw. They were interested in what they felt. So that was one of the things I had to get to really fast, was what do you feel?
Love that.
So yeah, right. A little bit different. It's kind of all the same, but it's a little different, which means you have to be a little bit more flexible in the way that you communicate with folks, just like we do on the podcast. I don't know what you're going to say next. So it's a conversation cone with two people, right? Versating, talking together. So everyone kind of starts in my world with this compass, and the compass is kind of, we're going to look at what your guiding star is. If we're going to work together for 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 years, 15 years, I need to know where we're going, because the advice I give you could be different than the advice I give the person next door. So I always start with kind of the compass, which kind of sets the ground rules. But then every other technique I'm going to talk about below this, and I do them in order, is looking for an issue. And what I learned is that most business issues can be put into 6 buckets, right? Is an education problem, a profit problem, a cash flow problem, a debt, operations of the future. If I can put you into one of those 6 buckets, I can go quickly to a technique to solve it and get you on the path to recovery really fast. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm doing. Through the conversation, I'm looking for the issue that fits into one of these buckets. And then what I do is I teach you what to do once you get them inside a bucket, right? And then everybody ends at their own transferable value. And transferable value to me is, do I have enough money to do whatever it is I want to do next? I'm transferring value and worth from the business to me, right? Either by selling the business or by monthly putting away money for me from this business. So there's the 2 things: transferable value, transferring it from the business to me. So what is this? It's just a framework of guiding you through an interaction, through a conversation. That's all it is. It's not a script. It's a framework. Even though I'll give you sample questions, it's got to be you, because if you use my words all the time, you're going to sound just like a hillbilly like me. Right? So,
you don't want that.
Yeah, you don't want that, right? You know what's funny is, in the very beginning of this, I wrote this book 3 times. The first time I wrote it, and I wrote it just the way I say it, and I'm like, ooh, that sounds way too hillbilly. The second time I wrote it like I teach at the university, and it sounded more like a professor. So the third version is what I call the hillfessor version. It's the hillbilly professor. So it's a combination of both academic and casual. All right. So what's the point, right? First of all, the problem that I saw was nobody likes to be told what to do. And here's how I kind of proved it to myself. I was sitting doing this live, right? Just doing one of these seminars live. And I asked somebody, say, hey, listen, I brought them up to the front of the room, and the room is set up in a U-shaped configuration, right? And the door's in the back. I was the last speaker of the day for this group. And I said, hey, listen, if we end, right? When we end, we probably all want to go down to the bar, right? We're in a hotel. We probably want to go down to the bar. What are some ways we could leave this spot and get out of this room? Well, he thought about it. He goes, we could go to the left of this U, we could go to the right of the U, we can go over the tables, under the tables. He just came up with a bunch of different scenarios. And I said, okay, let's try it. And he chose to go to the right. And all I did was walk beside him, and we walked around the right and went to the door, right? What that was proving is that we came up with a solution to the problem. The problem is we got to leave this room. He came up with several solutions. I just guided him along that path. Then I brought him back up to the front of the room again. And I said, okay, now put your hands up like this, right? And he put his hands up in front of him just like that. I put mine into fists and placed them against his hands, and I leaned forward. What do you think he did when I leaned forward? I'm 240 pounds. What do you think he did?
Braced.
He braced, right? He instantly resisted. I didn't tell him to resist. I didn't tell him to do anything. I just put some body weight against him. And naturally, his first instinct is to resist, to brace himself, to push back. That was the lesson I was trying to push, is that every time we talk to somebody and we tell them what to do, and it's not their idea, their natural instinct is to push back. So the whole goal is to get people to be committed to taking an action, not compliant with what I just said.
We've got Peter Cullen that's watching on YouTube, who's joins us quite often. He was basically saying, meet them where they're at. This is the primary objective through all this.
Yeah.
It seems nails it right.
Yeah, good one. Good one, right? So this is just social proof that I actually did wear this uniform at one point in time. 22 years old, right? Yeah.
I don't recognize you without a beard, though.
Yeah, I matter of fact, I'm in trouble if I ever shave the beard. I shaved it down just closer, and everybody in my family goes, no. Don't do that. and I don't know why. I think it's because I have a more rounded moon face now than I used to. That's probably what it happens. The whole part of this verbal judo, though, was again meeting them where they're at. But I learned not to say these things. That was part of it, like going, because I said so. You always, you never. I don't have time for that. It's not my job. You wouldn't understand. Calm down. Anytime people say that, Matt, you want to talk about it?
Ironically, just last night I was talking to a good friend of mine, Linda, and I pulled up this list of things not to kind of say, and a majority of them, like there was a list of 12, and a lot of them are right there. Things not to say. I'm like, talk about something slapping you in the face like over and over, day after day. It's interesting. So it's hitting home. Smart stuff.
Yeah, because it's all ways for them to argue, right? And the whole point of what I'm going to teach in this technique is to get them to acknowledge, to say it, to verbalize it. Because if they say it, there's no one to argue with. Right? If you say it, you can argue with me. So the way I'm going to talk through the questioning is the same way I did as a trooper. If you say it, that's why they ask you, well, how do you think it got like this? Where do you think that came from? If you say it, then of course it's true. If I say it, it might not be true to you. So instead, here were 4 magic phrases that I learned, right? And it kind of all starts off, and you might have heard me this in just casual conversation. Oh man, that's super interesting, or that's interesting. And I'll follow it up with blah. Hey, why would you say it that way? Or what do you think? Or, why would you do it that way? Or when you ask these type of questions, it gets them to start to rethink what their action is, or what they could be, or what the reasons or the rationale is. Now, I started off this whole thing by saying this whole concept, this whole technique was a combination of what I learned as a state trooper and from watching Hoarders. If you were like me in 2020, you spent a lot of time inside and you spent a lot of time in front of the TV. And Courtney got me to sit down in front of the TV and watch an episode of Hoarders. And I'm telling you, I don't watch Hoarders for the disorder, because it's sad. It really is. I watch it for the interaction between the psychologist and the person with the disorder. That conversation is magic. And you'll see it if you've ever seen one of these episodes. They're formulaic, right? Which means they kind of all play out the same way. But the first scene is always the doctor going up to the front door. And as they're walking up, you can see the problem. I always liken that to me. As soon as you hand me financial statements, I can see the problem. And then, but that first interaction is the one that's the most dangerous. And the danger, I mean, is your client could shut down immediately based on what you say first. Right. So the whole thing is not to be confrontational, not to be accusatory, not to be judgmental right off the bat. Right. But if you see that first scene play out, you go, oh, I need to watch that, because that's how they get them to move towards the committed behavior, which is the action to clean up the place. So, and at the end of today, I'll show you a video of how that works out in Hoarders. Okay. So the principles, right? Terminate every long lecture. I want you to start with the end in mind. If we're going to be working together, why are we doing this? Be the guide, not the judge, right? You're not accusing them. You're not judging them. You're guiding them to the next way of improvement. Clearing the noise is something I preach all the time. Everybody that comes to this meeting, including people that are on this call today, you already have something in your head. I think he's going to talk about this. I wonder if he's going to hit on that. You know, you got all these things that you think about before you go into a meeting. You have to let people clear the noise, or they can't be engaged with you during the conversation. And then turn talk into traction, which is actually doing it, right? Actually getting them to take action. So questions or anything? Because you know me, guys. I will go right through. I mean, I'll go 2, 3, 4 hours.
Let's go back one real quick. I do have a quick question because I know you've always got logic with your steps there. Start with the end in mind. Can you talk about that a little bit deeper? Because when I first hear it, my thought is, well, wait a second. If we're already starting with the end in mind, are we listening to what they're needing if we're assuming what the end is? What do you mean by that?
Here's what I mean. I use the compass technique, right? And I'll start off just like this, Matt. I'll go, hey, listen, Matt, usually when I'm in these consulting relationships, they last quite a while, right? Months, years even. If that's the case with you and I need to know kind of where you're going. So when you leave this business, what do you want to do next?
There you go. Okay. So right? Understanding what their end is, not your idea of what their end is. Thank you for that.
Because just with you too, I mean, Dan might want to just travel the U.S. like he does. Just, hey, I just want to travel the U.S. and do my thing. And you might want to buy a lake house and sit on the deck and drink coffee in the morning and sit on the deck and drink wine at night. Well, those two dreams cost different amounts. Right. So that's where I'm saying start with the end in mind, because I can't guide you to just having a lot of money. Money is just a tool to fund whatever dream that you want. Right. I tell accountants, business owners, bankers all the time. I say, what business do you think you're really in? Dan, what business do you think you're in if you're an accountant?
Well, whatever I'm going to say is the wrong answer. So
it's the people business.
Yeah. You are in the dream fulfillment business, and you have to put yourself in that mind frame. Is that the reason why people come to you is that they want to keep more money. They want to keep it in their pocket because they need more money as the tool to fund whatever it is they want to do next. Your job is to help them do that. If you put your mindset there, then it becomes easier to have the conversation. I'm only here to help you fulfill that dream. Now, that's something new that I didn't know I was this fluffy. I thought I was the math guy.
You're looking pretty trim, my friend. Pretty trim, actually. But
yeah, I appreciate that. So basically, the way I teach the whole thing is it's the financial doctor, right? It's analyze, diagnose, and treat. I know it's 5 steps here, but that's really what we're doing. We're analyzing data. When you go to the doctor's office, they gather all this data, how much you weigh, what's your blood pressure, all this type of stuff. They analyze all of that, diagnose what's going on with you, and treat it. You should look at the advisory relationship the same way, right? Except for don't make them spend 45 minutes in the waiting room reading 5-year-old magazines. You know, maybe you shouldn't do that. But anyway, that's what we're doing. So all of up here, it's kind of in an order in a flow chart, but I want to go through what the techniques are, because I'll start with one. If I don't find an issue, I go to the next one. If I don't find an issue, I go to the next one, and so forth. And what I'm trying to do is put you in a bucket, because if I can put you in a bucket, there is a clear path to cash technique I can use to solve the problem. So that's kind of where we're getting to with this. Here's what it kind of looks like a little bit more blown up. This is just the analyze part, right? We start off with the compass. I use the next technique is clear the noise. Now, I know you don't know what these are, but I'm just kind of showing you how it lays out. If I don't find an issue, I use the explorer. Then I use the crowbar, and then I use the mirror moment. And if I can't help you, I just refer you to somebody else, right? Or if I can't help you, I'll go and get to the point. I'll say, hey, let me try something with you. If I can't get them to say it, because all of this is about getting them to say what the problem is. If you can get the person to say that they have too much inventory, that they're collecting too slow, that their pricing's bad, if you can get them to say it, they're more willing to fix it.
Okay, that one, what you just said there is super powerful, just to make sure it hits home for everybody, right? Because we already know there's different levers in a business you can pull to improve your cash flow. But if you can't get the business owner to recognize it themselves, then it's not going to change. If they don't, you can tell them they have too much inventory, or their turnover rate's too slow, or they're paying too much. If they can't see that and come to that, they're not going to be looking for ways to improve it, right?
Yeah. So, and that's just, again, that's from history of me working with clients now, is that I have been more productive, more effective when I can get them to see the problem the same way, because then they go, yeah, it is a problem. Then they go fix it. Every time I've told them what to do, they give me excuses of why they can't get it done.
Yeah.
Right. So this is the transition from good to great. Good is I can find the problems and tell you what the solution. Great is I can get you to acknowledge it and want to solve it. All right. So the compass now inside of this, and I thought I had all this, but inside the compass are just sample questions like, hey, what does it look like for you long term? Where do you see yourself? I always say something like, when you leave this business, what do you want to do? Right? What do you want to do next? So the compass is just about you setting it. These are just typical questions. I always start there. Sometimes I find a problem, but if not, it tells me what I should be working towards. My job is to get you on the lake. My job is to get you to travel the U.S., right? And we need X amount of dollars to do that. That's where I start with the end in mind. The next part is this thing called the nudge pact. Now, this nudge pact I use in two parts. I get an upfront agreement with the client. And here's the way it looks. The nudge pact is getting permission to push them, getting permission to coach them, to go from advisor to coach. When you see a coach on the side of a field, baseball, diamond, soccer field, football field, they're driving performance, right? Well, here's where you have to get permission up front. I tell my clients this. I'm like, listen, when we start this, it's going to be hard. There's going to be a day when I want you to go count that warehouse, and in your mind it's going to take you 3 days to do it, and you're not going to want to do it. You're going to procrastinate. I know, because I would. I'm like, oh, I don't want to go out there and deal with that today. What are some things you do when you procrastinate? What are some things that you do when you don't want to do something? Right? That's the question I ask. What are some things that I would see? And they go, oh, I'll stop taking your phone calls. I won't answer emails. I might even cuss you out. I'm like going, okay, when you do those things and I see it, can I call you out on it? Can I say, hey, listen, remember when we talked early on the very first week, and I asked you, what are some things you do when you don't want to do something? You said this, that, and the other. Well, I saw this, that, and the other, so what should we do next? So what I'm doing is getting permission up front to call you out on your, I'm going to talk Texans for a minute. I'm going to call you out on your bullshit, right? But I'm going to do it in a nice way. Hey, remember you told me you would do these things? Well, you did those things. What should we do about it? What should we do next? Because I'm trying to get you to move off of your pedestal or off of your whatever's holding you back. So the nudge pact is in two parts. I do it up front with the compass, and then I do it once we're taking the action and you start to stall. All right. You ever seen that before? Or you guys probably do this already?
No, but I love it. I mean, to wrap myself out, my best procrastination is cleaning my house. And I could tell you my house has been very clean lately. So,
there you go.
I need to start doing that.
All right. I start off almost every meeting with clearing the noise, right? And the way I do it is with this sentence. Hey, it's been a week or so since we talked, man. What's going on in your world lately? That's me letting you get whatever's on your mind or off your chest out into the open. And once you get the hang of that, your client will just start to tell you the issue up front, and you get to the issue within the first couple of minutes of a meeting rather than trying to dig it out of them 15 or 20 minutes later. They'll tell you up front, hey, I don't know if I'm gonna make payroll. Hey, I bought this and I probably shouldn't have because now I got too much debt and I don't know if I can make the debt payments. They're going to tell you whatever's on their mind. I even do it at the beginning of seminars. I'm saying, hey, bathroom's over here. We're going to take a break at mid-morning. We're going to take an hour for lunch. I'm clearing the noise, answering all the questions I think you could have up front so we can both be committed to engaging in the conversation that we're having. So clearing the noise. Yeah, go ahead.
I assume, do you try to make sure to limit the amount of time of clearing that noise? Because I could see situations where that noise can easily take over the whole hour of time if you're not careful with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So that's the biggest shift that I have to have in clients, especially right now, tax season.
Yeah.
Everybody says, I have to get as many of these things out in an hour, right? Everything is about speed and how much time. This is the opposite. Advisory services and advisory relationships are the opposite. It's okay to let them talk. It's okay to let them ramble. If you don't get to your plan or whatever you wanted, that's okay too, because you did exactly what they wanted and they're engaged in the conversation for the whole hour or however long you're with them. So don't be in a rush to solve a problem. If they want to talk, maybe that's part of the problem. They don't have anybody to talk to.
That's great.
Right?
They need some friends.
Need some friends. Yeah, need some friends. All right. If I can't find the issue and clear the noise, I move to the Explorer, because usually some people are vague, like going, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Then I'll say something like, well, tell me more about that. What doesn't feel right? Or can you say that differently? When I say those two things, can you say this differently? Or what's happening? Or, tell me more about it. It allows them to rethink about what they're trying to say and maybe say the issue. Again, the whole point is to get them to say the issue, because if they say the issue, then we can start solving it. So that's the second thing I do is the Explorer, and it's just about digging a little bit deeper, right? Creating some depth in their conversation. It's not about me. I know what the issue is. We'll say it's too much inventory, right? I've already saw what it is. I need you to acknowledge that it's the same problem.
Now, do you find that, Mike, that you're like, because what I'm gathering here is that these are just tools to extract from them what the underlying issue is. You don't have to use all of them. It's more of, once you get something out of them, then it's let's move on to the task at hand, right?
Exactly right. So like with this, if they tell me, oh, I have we'll say an accounts receivable problem. Now I got something I can work with. That's a cash flow problem, right? Cash flow, it's about cash flow optimization. Now I can move right into the solution. Oh, really? Accounts receivable. Okay, well, let's walk through that. And I would say I got a tool that kind of helps us visualize it. And then I open up the app and I'll kind of show you how this kind of plays with the app as well. If you guys don't mind.
It's not like you have to go to the next thing of the Explorer when they've already said it.
Nope. Yeah. If they already said it, don't go to the next phase, right? All I'm doing is just saying, okay, so it's a different way of trying to get them to say the right thing each time.
The right tool for the right job, basically, right?
Right tool, right? Yeah. So if I've tried twice, I tried clearing the noise and I tried the Explorer, and I still can't get to the root of the problem, I'll use this thing called whacking with a crowbar, right? And this one's in depth. So I would have to do this in a different thing, but it's all 5 questions. And when you ask somebody 5 questions in this order, you can backtrack backwards and draw a sentence to what the theme is, right? So it's what's working, what's broken, what's missing, what's confused, and what's extra shouldn't be here, right? And I draw it in 4 different columns. It's five things, but I draw four different lines, and I just brainstorm. Hey, what's working? And I just write down whatever they say. What's broken? Write down whatever they say. What's missing? What's confused? And what you'll notice is there's a part of their business, one of the functions of business is broken. It's the one that needs the attention, because they'll mention it 4 or 5 times. You're like going, here, tell me more about this. And you can actually pop out a problem. That's why I call it the crowbar. All right. The last one is, if you're just hard-headed and you don't want to say it, I will tell you a story about your problem, but it won't be about you. It'll be about somebody else. It's a technique I call let you and him fight. So I'll say, hey, I had this client. He had too much inventory, and I'll tell him a big story about too much inventory and how it was $50,000 that was sitting on the shelf that could have been in his pocket and all this type of stuff. And I'll end the story with, hey, if this was you, what would you do about it? Because everybody can solve somebody else's problem. They can't solve their own. Right? So yeah. Once he solves the other person's, the imaginary person's problem, they'll say, hey, you think that would work here? Do you think that's our problem too? And all of a sudden they go, oh yeah, you're talking about me. Right? So it's the mirror moment where I'm showing yourself in the mirror, but I'm showing you through the eyes of somebody else. So it's you and him fighting, not you looking at yourself. And I'm not judging him. I'm telling you a story about somebody else and asking you what you think. So that's another way to get them to say the problem is the mirror moment. The whole goal of this is to put you in a bucket, right? Because if I can put you in an education, you just don't, I don't know what these numbers are saying. Or I feel like I'm not making any money. I'm always got losses or cash flow or debt or operations, or it's about the future. Then I have a technique inside my program, the Clear Path to Cash, to solve it, right? I mean, the home run financial system, mining your business for hidden cash, all of these things are what I teach to solve the problems, right? So the whole point is to ask the question, to put them in a bucket, to solve the issue. Well, that was an interesting. I wonder what that said. Oh, question. Wonder what that one said. What did I do? Hide it? All right.
Was that the video? Did you have a?
Oh, that's what those were. Those were videos. I'm like, what was that? All right. So let me show you a couple videos, and then I'll show you how this works in the app to find problems and how I built this guided conversation. But yeah, that is a video. How do you press play? Does it not play? That's super interesting because there's
Imagine if you will.
Yeah. You guys can still see that, right?
Yes, but it's
all right.
Here we go.
All right, so this is hoarders, and I'm going to show you two. One that was really good, one of them that had some issues, and they're only about a minute long. You probably can't hear or see that.
Just want to make sure you turn when you're doing the share, you got the audio shared.
How do I? This doesn't show up on the share. That's really weird, right? I never had that before. I wonder if it's a Zoom problem. All right. Well, that was going to be awesome when I did it. Because, yeah, the videos are here. They just won't play. Or they'll play, but they won't.
Yeah, when you share, you got to hit the share sound.
Yeah, so stop your share, pull it back up, and then you'll see the little box on the right-hand side that says share audio also.
Okay. Share audio. Where's share audio at? I got the share.
You got to stop sharing first.
Oh.
Then when you share again, there'll be like a checkbox to share the computer audio.
Got it. Okay, so share. I'll share this. Where's the share the box at? Share sound. Perfect. Yep. Got it. And
Zoom technical support also on the QB Power Hour.
Well, they keep changing where the buttons go all the time.
They do. They do.
All right. Okay. You think I could share this again or not?
Yep. Let's go for the play. And
that doesn't work.
Yeah. I don't think that video is in the presentation.
All right. We'll do it this way.
Hi, Dolores.
Hi.
David Tolan.
How are you?
Very good, very good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
May I come in?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. I'm Dr. David Tolan. I'm a clinical psychologist and a specialist in the study and treatment of hoarding disorder. So tell me what we're looking at here.
A mess.
A mess.
Chaos.
Chaos. Yeah. Where did all this stuff come from?
Shopping, shopping, shopping.
So you're a shopaholic.
Shopaholic. And a hoarder.
And a hoarder too?
Mm-hmm.
What makes you think that?
Because I keep bringing stuff in.
Okay, and you just
And
pile
then it just
stuff up
piles.
here.
And the pile gets higher and higher,
Yeah.
as you could see.
All right. So, Matt, what did you see?
I'm starting to sweat. My brain can't focus when there's clutter like that. Like I literally in my house started removing all flat areas to get rid of all the clutter.
All right, so let's think about this. You're looking at it. I don't want you to look at the hoard, right? Because everybody that comes in with a set of financial statements could have as big a mess. They could need QuickBooks cleaned up. They could be just totally just destroyed somehow.
Good point.
But think about this. He walks up to the front door. You already see the remnants of the hoard. There's stuff on the front porch even.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. He sees the problem. He knows that the problem exists. When he goes in, he doesn't judge. He could go, what the heck's going on here? What are you doing?
This is a mess.
Yeah, this is a mess.
He
Instead,
got
he goes,
her to say she was a hoarder, and then he actually had her validated a second time by saying, "Why do you think that?" Right?
Yeah,
Instead of it just
right.
being, boom.
That's what I'm saying. This is an example of something good. He got her to say those things. And he didn't come in and judge anything. He says, hey, tell me what I'm looking at. That's important because it lets the person start to rationalize. Well, maybe it's not as bad as I think it is. If I can talk him through this, he'll see it the same way I do, right? You'll see that play out over and over and over again. That's just the same way with a business owner. They think that, hey, I'm just keeping this thing afloat. This is the way I do business, even though you know it's a mess. So
they may know exactly where everything is there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly right.
That's my system.
So
yeah, I mean, I got my spot piles all over the place in the past, right? So we're guilty of that kind of thing. Yeah.
So here's one that doesn't go out so well. Meaning she's not as agreeable up front. So let's watch this. Don't get sucked into the horde, right? Pay attention to the conversation, right? This is a class about conversation. All right, watch this one.
All right. So Sherry and I have had a chance to look at each of the rooms of the house and get a sense of what's going on.
Mom, I don't want to make you upset, but Mom, this house is killing you.
No, it isn't.
It is.
The mice. What do you think needs to happen here?
I don't want them here. I don't want to kill them. I've tried to trap them, but they're outsmarted me.
She's saying, I know these mice need to go. I know this isn't safe for me. And yet she feeds them. Judy, like so many hoarders, is ambivalent. She wants two different things that can't coexist. She wants to have the mice and not have the mice. She wants to clean up and not clean up. So who should we call and what should we ask them to do?
Probably an exterminator, but then that means that they're going to kill them.
So maybe we've got some discussion, some negotiation to do around that issue.
Where do you go to the bathroom?
I will not discuss.
You're killing me.
She's embarrassed, but I can do the math.
Dan, what'd you see on that one?
Just that, the vision of, the resistance, right off the bat. I think emanating from the family member as they were like, trying to do this intervention type of thing. And I think that's what immediately, put up that wall of resistance for them.
Yeah. First of all, if anybody starts off a sentence like, I don't want to offend you, the next thing that's going to happen is
right.
you're going to be offended. but
no offense, but here's something offensive.
The thing that this reminds me of is if you've ever worked with a business with partners, sometimes when they're in the same room, one is a little bit, every time they say something, it creates volatility. It creates resistance. It creates something. What I like what the doctor did there is he immediately diverts it to something important. He sees the resistance go up. No, it's not, right? This house is killing you. No, it's not. And he goes, the mice, right? And he points directly at a problem, right? To break the chain of no, it's not. Yes, it is. Because who knows how long that goes on and it gets worse. So he goes right to something that's important. And he gets her to at least understand that the mice are a problem. What I really like is that he didn't solve the problem. He goes, who should we call and what do you think they should do about it? Again, remember the first example I gave you of doing this live is how can we get out of this room? It's them coming up with a solution and then walking them down the path. Even though she doesn't want the mice to be killed, he doesn't say, well, duh, it's an exterminator. What do you think that means? He says, well, we got some discussions and negotiations to do about that. Right? He doesn't just poo-poo it and shut it down. He actually gives her away. And then the daughter chimes in again and the barrier comes back up. So again, what I do is I look at the interaction and try to say, I can apply some of this technique to my conversation with clients because they're a lot more agreeable to committing to action if I can get them to at least say it up front. All right. If you don't mind, I want to show you what the client conversation coach looks like in action. Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
So inside my stuff, I say my stuff, my membership is an app, right? So some people know me from being, part of the Cashflow tool team, Finagraph team. I've also built other apps. So this is the latest one, and it does all the calculations that I teach. But the one I want to talk about today is this thing called the Client Conversation Coach, right? And how this works using a combination of what I call AI and MI. MI is my stuff, right? AI, everybody knows what AI is, but my stuff. And believe it or not, I have a t-shirt that says AI does not equal ME because it doesn't have my timing, doesn't have my instinct, it doesn't have, the personnel skills or personal skills that we have, right? So AI is a tool, it's not the thing. So if you look at this, I've built it kind of like a chat bot, but some of my clients now have this off to the side to just help them remember how to get to the problem and what to do to solve it. So I start the conversation in 3 different places, depending on who I'm talking to. I don't always use the compass with somebody I talk to every week or every month, right? I don't use the compass with the sales prospect because I just want to try to show them that I can solve their problem. So Matt, who we want to talk to today?
Let's do a new onboarding client.
All right. So when we do new onboarding client, that's somebody I'm talking to for the first time. Guess what we're using, right? We're going to use the compass. So, and then I tell you, hey, try asking them this. So I'm going to tell you, here's the technique to use. Here's why you should use it. Here's how to do it, right? It's 3 different things there. Technique to use. And I said, we're going to go to start with end in mind. And I'll say, click here to start, and it will open up start with end in mind, right? So that's one of the things I'm helping you to do is once you get there, I'm going to show you the technique to use next. So let's say that we did that. That was cool, but let's keep going. So when we keep going, we're going to use clear the noise, right? And when you do this, I'm saying here, we're going to clear the noise. What's been going on in your world lately, or what's been worrying you? What's keeping you up at night? I want you to listen for issues, right? These is helping you put your client in the bucket. I have taken down the 12 most common things I've heard from clients over the last 20 years. I don't understand my numbers. I'm always out of cash. We're drowning in debt. Nothing runs smoothly here. So I've built this to whereas, do you hear anything like this? So Dan, do you hear anything like this? We're clearing the noise. Let's just say I can't tell. They're too vague. Let's do that one first, right? So you see what happens next. If I say I can't tell, I click on that and it says, okay, we'll try this one. Try the Explorer, right? The Explorer is, hey, here's why we do the Explorer. Here's tell me more, or can you say that differently? Do you hear an issue? So Dan, do you hear one of these issues in our pretend client?
That one that you're hovering over, our costs are
eating all our profits.
All
right. So if I click that, it's going to say, okay.
Very topical.
Yeah, right. Costs are eating all the profits. All right. So here's what to do next, right? I want you to use Mining Your Business for Hidden Cash. And I want you to go into some pricing and cost analysis. But if I click on Mining Your Business for Hidden Cash, it's going to open up that technique. And I'll just pick up some data here. Hey, listen, this is why you're eating up all your profits, right? We just found $11 million in hidden cash. This is sample data, but $11 million in hidden cash. Most of it's in sales, but everybody can sell more, right? So let's just turn that off. That's just saying you got enough stuff. You don't need to go buy another truck. You don't need to go open another office. You have enough stuff to sell more. So then I turn that off and it kind of recalculates and focuses us where the problem is. So from here, we're like going, oh, this is why you don't have enough profits. You are really underpricing, right? Your biggest problem is in gross profit. You're spending okay. You actually have a little bit too much inventory, but not a lot. That's not a big problem. You're collecting a little slow, but you're paying right on time. So let's just turn off the things we're doing good at because you're doing good at them. Now, if we were playing Name That Tune, I'd say I can put $3 million in your pocket in 3 moves, right? in three notes. Right. We have a pricing problem, that we need to address or something with our vendors. We've got too much inventory and we have accounts receivable problem. So now I know where to focus is. And if you don't know where to start fixing the company, start with the longest red line, which means I would start here and start to put this cash back into our business. So that's kind of the way we do that. And if I went to because we had an inventory problem, I would do cash conversion. Right. So cash conversion is, hey, we got too much inventory. That's for a service-based company. Let me move to an inventory company. This is saying that you're short $300,000, right? That's your cash conversion. It's the financial gap. You don't have enough money to run your business. That's why it feels clunky. I'm always waiting for money to come in before I can make a payment or, do something else. Well, this says you got 92 days of inventory, which is $1.4 million on the balance sheet. If I reduce that, look what kind of happens. See the number reducing? The smaller your financial gap, the less money it takes to run your business. So if I just reduce that and look for it to go blue and positive, oh, there it is. See that red, blue? You should have 63 days worth of inventory to keep up with your sales. Well, how much is that, Mike? Oh, $1 million. When you look at your balance sheet, right now it says 1.4 million. I want you to run it down to $1 million. And every time it goes over $1 million, run it back down, or you're going to create the same problem over and over and over again. Right. So that's one of the ways I help people do this, is give them a visual of what's happening. Really simple, and simple is hard, but I can actually guide them towards the solution and then hold them accountable to taking action. So
question for you, Mike. The information that you're showing, obviously demo data, but how does this information get pulled in? Is this a connecting to a company file and it's got some fancy algorithms, or are there certain numbers that you're plugging in, and you help us understand that part?
Yeah, so you can do it two different ways, right? So I can do it with user input. If I just want to do one calculation, don't want to connect to somebody's QuickBooks file, maybe it's a sales prospect. I can just type in a few numbers and actually get to the calculation. Or it's got a QuickBooks Online connection, which does about 3 years worth of data in years and months and quarters and rolling years if you did that. So you can even select rolling years, which is what I like because it smooths it out, right? So January to December, then February to January, and so on and so forth. If I do just manual input and I want to do just the fast money formula, I just type in these numbers. So I can do it during a sales call and show them demonstrations is the most powerful way to actually sell, right? It's like, oh, he did that in 15 minutes. That's the guy to help me. He didn't show me his package of how he fills out reports. He showed me what my problem is and that he can solve it.
Beautiful.
So,
and you take a little bit different approach than most traditional folks of as far as an app or a tool is. You don't necessarily sell the tool, you sell the course of how to use said tool, and the app or the tool comes along with it, right?
Yeah. So here's what I did at Cashflow Tool and all the other software companies I worked at. We would be a software company, and then we would try to sprinkle in education. And then people get lost. They're like, Cashflow Tool is so robust and so many different levers and pulls and things like this. You almost have to take a course to be able to know how to use it properly and be effective. And some software that I've bought is like that. I'm like, I get confused, frustrated, and then I shut off the software. I'm like, it's probably the right tool. I just don't know how to use it. So I said, I'm going to take a different approach this year, or these last 2 years, and I'm going to become an education company with software, which means I'm going to teach you how to do all this stuff and give you the tool. So the way I've done it is it's just a membership to keep going and be part of the community, to get live coaching. And what people are using the live coaching for now is they'll bring real life client issues. Hey, I'm working with this manufacturing company on Tuesday. Here's what I'm seeing. Give me a strategy to help me go through it. So it's more like you're hiring me to be part of your team, right? To help you either sell. I even jump on sales calls with people to kind of help, this process when I got time and opportunity. But the other thing is that the tool is not per user. It's not per client. It's like I want you to use it with everybody. Sales calls, it doesn't matter. Use it because that's the way most people get the most benefit.
Yeah, so there's not like a tiered, start with simple start, and then we'll move you on up to advanced. It's, learn how to use this tool, and, you get unlimited access to the tool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then still you get the whole video course, right? Because I've got the video course and I've got 100 different worksheets, spreadsheets, and all that type of stuff that go deeper than just the app right now. So like, when I say like pricing analysis, I have worksheets and spreadsheets for that's not built into the app yet, but it gives you something to work with your client with. The second thing is the support, right? So I got training, the video courses, you got support, which is about 15 times a month. I have we'll call open office hours, but they're topic driven, and then the app as well. All comes as a package. It also in the professional package, you can get 27 hours of CPE through NASBA now as well.
learn and grow at the same time. And you've made available the book as an ebook for our users, and we have it on our landing pages. So if you just want to get a refresher of what this is, recapitulation of what Mike was talking about today, you can access that on the QB Power Hour landing page there for you. I did make it available there while you were showing one of those hoarder skits, which somebody asked, where did you get those?
You scour YouTube and clip them out. Yeah. So the other thing before I turn it back to you is that, I just, Michelle and I have been friends for a long time. Dan, Matt, all of us been friends for a long time. For your group, anybody that's watching this, no upfront fee. And the reason I charge an upfront fee is because I give you the whole course up front, right? But for your group, no upfront fee. You can just jump into a membership and go from there. If anyone wants to talk about it, my email address is mike@cashflowmike.com. Super easy to remember. And that's the discount code if you can share that with your folks. So I'll turn it back to you. Thanks, guys.
All right. Yeah, so we really appreciate you, Mike, joining us today. I did want to throw the last poll question so that we can, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Okay. Because some people were asking, how do you get this app? How do we become a member? So we'll grab that as the last poll question. So maybe we can help you follow up with those folks that might be interested in using this tool. Matthew, any final thoughts of what we covered here today?
Just a kind of a word of praise. I'm fortunate to have known Mike now for many, many years, and we've worked together on many different things. When you're talking about cash flow, truly, this guy has earned his nickname. He really, really understands it. So I put my word on it. It's worth getting into the community. Check it out. Mike's a great guy, super knowledgeable. He's got a big heart, always willing to help people. So good stuff.
Thanks, Matt.
Awesome. All right. So next time on the QB Power Hour, Matthew and I are going to be talking about bridging the apps, not bridging the gaps, bridging the apps, and how you can utilize Zapier as a no-code option to bridge those integrations that are just a little on the needs more side of things. So hopefully you join us in a couple weeks for that. We appreciate everyone that did join us today, and hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time on the QB Power Hour. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, now.
We hope you enjoyed listening to the QB Power Hour podcast. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in our Facebook group. You can find those resources and much more at qbpowerhour.com.